Guys, Big Mac Dad here again today with another episode of Warhammer Thoughty K. And today's episode is all about abstract versus realism in 40K. Stop right there! We need to talk about Kevin. I mean, 8th edition. And in particular, what to do with your old Codex books. Guys, Big Mac Dad here again today. This is the real video this time. There's going to be no more interruptions, thankfully. So yeah, today's video, there's been a change of plan, in case you hadn't noticed. Initially, there was going to be a video about abstract versus realism in wargaming and why it's necessary, really. But this video is going to be all about these sorts of things, Codex books and rule books and stuff like that. Hey. So yesterday, if you're unaware, GW released sort of like basically confirmation that 8th edition is well on its way. It's almost with us, and Codex books, the current Codex books at least, so like this one, they're going to be null and void. Yeah, so I thought I'd give you a few ideas of what you can do with your old Codex books, or where the value is in them, basically. So this Codex book, this is a really old Codex book. I actually, if you've not seen the video where I did an unboxing of it, I got this off eBay because I am a big fan of fluff and lore and stuff like that. And when I first got into the hobby, this was the Eldar Codex book, and the colour of the cover and everything, the images on the cover, they really captured my imagination and drew me into the Eldar. And them, along with the striking scorpions and Viper jet bikes and stuff like that, that was what really made me want to play Eldar back when I was a kid. But over time, as I lost touch with the hobby, one of the things I lost was my Codex, and I really like the Codex. That I remember stories from it and stuff like that, so I went out and bought another one, and that brings me nicely on to where some of the value is in the codices. So I mentioned stories there, short stories in particular. The value for me in the codices, a lot of the value is in the fluff that you get in the codices. Now there's fluff like this where it tells you about the fall of the Eldar, it can tell you about the history of the race in the game and stuff like that. And then also, if I can find one, in most codices that I've ever had, or in all codices that I've ever had, there's always like short stories and stuff like that. So for me, a lot of the value, like I said, is in the fluff. You get the stuff about the race, which builds up the background for you and gives you a real feel for who the race you're playing is, and the lore of the universe and stuff like that. And then the short stories in there sort of give you an idea of what sort of characters there are amongst the race. They might be about specific playable characters within the game, but they also might be about just a random, let's say a random guardian on a jet bike or something. Like there's a story about a guy in this book. Yeah, so that's part of the value for me. Another part of the value, I'm going to pick this back up even if I've just put it down, even though I've just put it down. Yeah, another part of the value is the artwork. Look at it, it's beautiful. It's amazing artwork, and this one is definitely of its era. This artwork on the front of this is really bright and almost garish. So yeah, there's value in the artwork. Now these older codices, the internal artwork, you rarely got much in colour. You got stuff like this though, like this amazing piece of art that's like, it's an avatar of Kane, and I think is it a Space Marine there on the floor? Let's have a look. Yeah, it's like, it's got shoulder pads, so it's a Space Marine on the floor, and it looks like he's been completely burnt out by the avatar, by his Wailing Doom or something like that. So one thing I saw, I can't remember who did it. I think it might have been Gus the Hutt. I've not seen him on YouTube for ages, but it was a YouTube channel that I'm subscribed to. And what he did with his old codices was he cut out pages with artwork in like this, and he framed them. He just got a cheap frame from like a pound shop or something like that. So if you're not into the fluff, and if you're not into the collectability of something like this, then by all means take a knife to it, cut it out, find the value in it for yourself. If you can get more value from having a piece of artwork hung on your wall than from having an old book on your shelf, then by all means do what you want. It's your property at the end of the day. whilst the rules, like these rules, there's a lot of rules in here that I'm not going to use again probably, unless I play a game of 2nd edition 40k. I'm not going to use these rules again. But yeah, there is still value in the Codex. Now, another part where you can find value, similar to the artwork, is in other pictures. But these pictures, particularly of things like the aspect warriors and all the different forms of soldiery and vehicles you can get in your army, and the painting styles. So this is like, these are clearly the painting styles of the 90s, and they're not really done these days. It's bright, it's garish, it's very much of the era, like I said about the cover of the Codex. And if you look at some of these striking scorpion colour schemes, they're really like, they're in your face and kind of ugly almost. Yeah, they're really of the era, but they can help you learn about different ways of painting, different styles of painting. And if you want to achieve a retro look with the way you paint a miniature, then these are great reference points. So that's another place to find the value. Now, slightly earlier in the video, probably about a minute ago, I mentioned collectability, and that's I think it's a big thing for me when I see something new being released, especially if it's limited edition. I spoke about it in previous Thoughty K videos. If it's something for one of my armies, I get really drawn to it. And that brings us on to this book. So this book is a limited edition Eldar Codex, and it was limited to like 2,000 copies or 1,000 copies or something like that. I'm sure it'll tell me in the bigger case that I got it in. It's all nicely, gold on the edges of the pages. There's a ribbon to mark your page and stuff like that. There's different artwork on the cover. It's a really clean, nice feel to the Codex. It gives you sort of a feel for the race, other than just the regular Codex, which do give you a feel for the race, but this is like a slightly posher version of it, if you like. And limited edition codices and stuff, people might be like, oh, but I can't even use that now. I've not used this once. I've not used this once to build an army or play with an army. And you might think, then why have you got it? Because it's collectible. It's collectible, and to me, it has value because this is the race that really inspired me to get into 40k and to start collecting Eldar. So if I'm buying something that I know at some point in the future is going to become null and void, then I want the special version of it. There is part of me that thinks, oh, I could sell them one day in the future, but how much value do these things have in the future? When you look on eBay at like old limited edition stuff, it's only really the miniatures that increase in value. The old codexes and stuff, they don't tend to, not as much as the miniatures anyway, I've found. Yeah, so there is part of me that says maybe I could sell it in the future, but I'm probably always going to keep this, and then just keep it for myself on my bookshelf. Yeah, so the collectability is there. It makes you, again, it's part of GW's business strategy. They're trying to make you spend as much money as possible, basically, which is understandable. They're a company and a business at the end of the day, and they make me spend money. Yeah, but there is enough value in this to me where I don't feel like I've been ripped off just because they've changed the rules of the game and they're changing the way stat lines work and stuff like that. So again, just before I go, I'm going to give you a couple more examples of artwork, because the artwork in some of the codexes, or the codices, is absolutely amazing. I'm looking at the minute of a picture of Illic Knightspear. Now, if you don't know who that is, this picture pretty much sums the character up. For me, it does anyway. I think it's Illic Knightspear because it looks like the miniature that you get, and the base and everything. So basically, he's a Pathfinder guy from a Lightock. And he has got this amazing sniper rifle. He's taking aim at something in the far distance, and it really gives me a sense of narrative and a connection to the army. Yeah, let's just find some more artwork for you, basically. The thing is, even if you didn't want to take knife to paper and cut these images out, you can just keep the books and look at them now and again for inspiration for painting and stuff like that in the future. Like this piece is referencing Beal Tan. and they're fighting Valhallans by the looks of it. And this piece was actually in White Dwarf magazine when they were looking at. They have this section on Illuminations, I think it's called. It's all about the artwork of Thoughty K, and yeah, it gives you a real sense of a scale of the universe and a scale of the battle and stuff like that that's going on. And it really, like, stuff like that I find really inspiring. Maybe not everybody does, but to me it's really inspiring to see artwork like that, and it makes me want to play a certain army, or have a certain paint scheme on my army at least, and learn more about the fluff of that army. Images like this, you see, like, again, talking about scale, you see like the scale of a Phantom Titan there, compared to Aspect Warriors and stuff like that. And it's, you know, for me, where the value is in your old codices, it's in the inspiration. And maybe it's me because I got into the game when I was around 11 or 12. Maybe that's why I look back on certain things with nostalgia, and I'm inspired by artwork of the generation and stuff like that. But that's where I think there is still value in your old codexes or codices. So don't just go throwing them on the fire. Stick them on eBay if you want. There might be a bit of value there for you. You might be able to get a £5 for them. You know, you bought it for 30 quid, 20, 30 quid. You might be able to get a £5 for them. At least you've got something back for them. But yeah, before you do, just take a look through it one last time, see if there is any other value in it. And I'm going to leave it there now, guys. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you on the battlefield.